Welcome to the Shoot It Straight podcast.
Welcome everybody to our show.
Squat's going to be in my lap today because of the cookie sitting next to me.
We'll see how long it lasts between
I'm
you and him. He almost had himself a snack.
The female listeners will understand that there's there's literally a week every single month where you have to eat more carbohydrates.
I'm in that phase right now too.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, everyone maybe has different phases of that. I also had a really hard workout this morning.
And
For
I'm proud
me,
of you.
hard. I've been working pretty hard in the gym at bodybuilding, which I used to make fun of, and it's fucking hard. I'm on week 5.
Yeah. I mean, I had to do an upper body day today, and I usually just follow lift heavy swing fast, which is total body every day. But I mean, I hit my legs hard on Friday, then I walked the golf course on Friday, Saturday, and then I played again on Sunday. I rode yesterday, and then we rucked the day before that. So my legs were just tired. I was like, you know what, I want to work out, but my legs are just smoked.
My legs were tired all weekend too, and we lifted Friday morning, but yeah, we hiked on Thursday. I took off all weekend. I just walked this weekend.
Yeah.
I just felt like I needed it, but that also made my workout today exceptional. Like, it always kind of is weird when you're like, I don't need that much recovery, but it's like, I don't know. Then I felt really good for my workout today. So
yeah, and I played my 4-ball match yesterday, so it's always extra long. So we were out there forever, and I warmed up longer. Standing there longer, so it's just, I don't know, my legs were just smoked this morning. I was like, yeah, you know, it's just going to be an upper body day today.
No, that's good. By the way, today's episode is going to be about, I wanted to introduce the topic earlier, I forgot. Today's episode is for the trainers or wannabe trainers or the new trainers out there, or maybe the not so new, who are looking to be more successful, to have success as a personal trainer. Maybe we'll talk just about coaching too. The online business is crazy these days. So there's plenty of people that maybe haven't even done in-person training, and they're starting out online. I think we'll have a good discussion around.
Yeah, there's so many ways we could do this. We'll try to keep it. Maybe I'll look at my watch and make sure we don't run too long today, because I could talk about this topic probably all day long. So
yeah, we'll highlight the big ones, the big movers.
Yeah, this is definitely for people. I want to kind of make this for people that are wanting to get into this business, and, you know, giving them a little advice and help, you know, because it is a tough business to get into. I think at one point someone told me that most trainers don't make it past a couple years. Like, so when you find a trainer that's been doing it for 5-10 years, like, they've found a way to make it work.
Yeah, I believe that stat. That sounds about right. But first, we need to come full circle here, because we actually brought up your 4-ball tournament a long time ago, and we need to close the loop.
Oh, you want to close it because I lost?
No, I think what you did say, I remember what we said was, if you didn't hear us follow up about it, you would know that the audience would know the outcome.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll admit, we made it to the semifinals.
Yeah, it took a few weeks because of the weather, right?
Yeah, the weather was bad, and then scheduling and things like that, getting the other players to play their match. They had to play their quarterfinals match before we could get into our semifinals match. So my partner and I hadn't played together in a couple weeks. It was cold, so we didn't get to play much. And then I did not come out and play very well yesterday. So, and my partner is he's a couple handicaps better than me, so he can carry the team sometimes, and he didn't win as many holes as he did, and I won a couple holes, and then, you know, we're playing against people who get pops or strokes on us, and they won their holes that they got those strokes on us, and, like, we just didn't play well enough to come back. But that's why I encourage everyone to play something competitive, because I think you learn more from losing than you do from winning. Like, you know, when you win a match, you're like, cool, I'm doing good. But when you lose, it's like, I got to get back to work.
Well, you pick apart to every little part of your game.
Yeah.
Which you see when you win too.
You do see the best players in the world, like they win a major or something like that. They win a big tournament, and you see them in the gym on Monday, like they get right back to work, like, you know. So the greatest players in the world do that. So as for an amateur, you know, to get out there and get pretty far in an event and lose because you didn't play your best, it's motivating to figure out what went wrong and do what you can to be better next time.
Well, maybe working with your coach.
Yeah, I got a coach. Give him a little shout out. His Instagram handle is Crafty Golf. He's been working with me online. So, my swing is so much better. Honestly, it's the playing under pressure that I'm still getting used to. Like, you know, I hit shots yesterday that a hack hits. you know, and I'm not a hack. And I was just chunking them. Like, it was just not good. So it's not my coach's fault. He's really helped my swing. My good swings are great. It's just, it's mentally, you just make errors and you just don't execute, even though you can.
If anybody's a sports psychologist that wants to work with Cody, outside of sports too, maybe a little bit too.
Just a straight up psychologist.
What's that? I think the videos that they're not trending right now, but they always come back when like the wife is whispering things into their husband's phone.
Man, I need something.
It's like jewelry or like whatever, but then sometimes it's like therapy.
Well, I think
men's health.
I think what I need in my golf
health.
game is to come up with a like pre-shot routine or something, because I'll notice when I get in these tense situations where I need to make a shot or like there's a little more pressure on, I stand above the ball too long, I get out of my rhythm, and then I just get in my head and like I start thinking about all this shit that I normally don't. I usually just get up there and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hit it right there, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and it doesn't always work. I'm not that good, but it does frequently. And yesterday, it's just like I get up there and I'm like, all these thoughts in my head, and I just shit the bed. So
well, maybe like Jordan Spieth and all the waggle people have there's a method to their madness of doing the things they do before they hit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I used to honestly, like, golf is something where even if you get in front of a bunch of people and have to hit a ball, like sometimes that's kind of stressful. Like on a tee, like when it means something, like on the driving range is different. But like, you know, at our club where the first tee is, and a lot of clubs are like this, where the first tee is, that's where a lot of people congregate, and there's usually quite a few people standing around. That used to really make me nervous. And then lately I can get up there when out of competition, there could be 20 people standing there and I can smack it down the middle. It's no big deal. But when it's a shot for a 4-ball match and when the semifinals, dead left, you know, it's just, it's the nature of the game, which makes it so great.
Totally. I think that's important, but you know, you'll get better and better. Keep playing.
Exposure.
That's it. That's
right?
The only way we can get better at the things that we're either A, afraid of, or B, not good at, or both. Yeah.
I mean, even like, you know, my playing partner's a great player, and he got up there and chunked a few, and that's unusual for him. It's just a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, you guys maybe got out of a rhythm too, since it took a long time for you to have your match, but
yeah.
Well, let's hop into it. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of being a successful personal trainer, coach.
Yeah, I think we should do a little bit of our backgrounds first so we can tell people that we are and were successful personal trainers and give them a reason why they should listen to us and about how to become successful themselves.
Fair. That's totally fair. I mean, yes, proof is the number one thing, which I want to talk about that in this episode. So earmark that for me. Because I think that's lacking in this industry sometimes too. But I started in I've been, you know, I wasn't the greatest high school athlete. I was a small person. And I do think that those are the people that end up going hard into fitness as adults. Mm-hmm. Is like, all right, I like never had my chance. So like, I'm like, here we go. And I was a late bloomer and like small and all the things. So like, I got really into like competitive running and endurance sports in my 20s. So like definitely got into athletics a little bit later in life and was pretty successful competitively in that realm and like loved it and like kind of loved what it was doing for me as just mind, body, spirit, whatever, especially getting into like the corporate world right out of college. And pretty soon into my professional career in accounting, I started side hustling in the fitness space. So I got my personal training cert, you know, kind of studied for that evenings, weekends for a couple months or however long that took. I don't remember. Long time ago, like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Dabbled into like some nutrition certs that were, you know, IIN. I don't know if that's called nutrition school or whatever that is nowadays. And just started coaching people like pretty soon after that. I was still working full time, but I was like kind of really interested in helping coach people. I wanted to help people through their, whether it was like kind of weight loss goals or just kind of like more so for me back then when I was like 22, 23 and really new. I didn't know a lot. You don't know a lot. Right. I wanted to put people through hard workouts like I liked doing. And, you know, that was the time too where like HIIT training and all that kind of stuff was really popular. So that's kind of like, I mean, I was bullshitting with my clients and honestly just knew that I needed to just get myself in front of bodies. And my path was a little untraditional because I think a lot of people start out in corporate gyms. I never went that route. Mm-hmm. I did eventually go to work for a a fitness company that's pretty big now, but I was working as like in leadership and coached though the fitness part too. So then I got into group exercise. I was doing a little bit of yoga before that too. So again, like so many things like leading up to that, getting my hands in every modality that there ever was and just learning how to be in front of bodies. Group X is amazing to get to know lots of different types of bodies, I think, actually. So I think it's a good way to get into if you're interested in personal training, it can get you in front of more people at a time, even though it is very different. But then it was like full-time Group X all the time, breathing it in, eating it, sleeping it, drinking it for, 3 years. And ever since then, like haven't put it down, right? That evolved into eventually, like let's just fast forward a few years of continuing to do part-time fitness and doing group exercise, eventually starting my own, nutrition consulting basically. 2019 when we moved to Austin together, kind of left like the corporate 9-to-5 world myself all together and started to take on clients again that I had known from all of the years of doing Group X and meeting and being exposed to so many people and build a business. Honestly, within like 6 months, had a full book of business. COVID had happened. I think that at first was weird, but really helped because it was like I was already online. People wanted help with how to cook at home and they had the extra time to, focus on their nutrition and a lot of people wanted to focus on their health. And I was making, like a 6-figure income doing one-on-one coaching, getting around 35 to 40 clients was like my peak. And doing that for like several years now. And then again, I kind of exited the fitness space. Of course, again, during COVID, we dabbled with we started to do online training because that's just what we needed to make money. We were hustling and we also just at that point I wanted something to do and people wanted something to do too. And they wanted to train. So we were doing a lot of one-on-one, just like virtual sessions, Zoom sessions. I think we both we've clocked like hundreds of hours of that stuff. Yeah, but it was kind of cool.
Did a lot of those.
Only till very, very recently have we really like let go of that. And I think that also is a byproduct of the pandemic not being here anymore and people wanting to be in person, whatever.
And I don't want to do it anymore either. Like straight up.
Well, totally. Right. Totally. We can get into that too of like, you definitely don't, going from personal training in person and Group X where you're in people's face and you're very much in.
The energy's high. It's like.
To like just being behind a screen for a long time is very hard. It's very hard. But then, cut to last year. So eventually, kind of winding down the nutrition coaching business. I still have a solid amount of clients, but nowhere near where I was at, a year and a half ago. To launching this business with you and kind of evolving Cody Wescott Golf Fitness. Yes, getting Lift Heavy Swing Fast up and running. Wanting to now, instead of just Group X where you can still maybe get in front of 20, 25 people, now we're getting in front of hundreds of people to get our programs in front of eyeballs and help people in that capacity. And then, of course, we kind of integrate nutrition in there as well. We certainly talk about nutrition on this podcast, and we have an ebook, and we have lots of nutrition resources that are all over the social channels, like whatever. So it's honestly just been a very full circle of us, both with different backgrounds, of course, but I would say that the moral of my story is that it's been a long time. Like it is not a 3-year, even 1 year, 3 year, even 5-year thing. It's a lot of hours and time and reps and different people and personalities to like get to where we are today.
For sure.
So
that was a nice story.
Sorry.
No, it was good.
I think it's important to talk about all the things.
It was. I liked hearing like the whole progression.
Well, yeah. Now you can kind of maybe web your story in there too, but your first 5 to 7 years is a little different than mine.
Yeah. So I mean, I think mine starts all the way back like in my freshman year of high school. That's when I quit playing baseball. One, because I wasn't good enough, and two, I kind of just lost interest. And we started working out, and I found way more interest in just lifting weights. So like instead of going home and wanting to play catch or practice baseball, like I wanted to go work out more. So we had this weightlifting class, which was a lot of fun. And I credit that as to when I first started actually like training people, because the way it was set up back then was this old gym, just weight room in like right by the basketball court in my high school. And our Coach Totola, I don't know if he's still alive. He's got to be like 90 years old at this point, maybe older. And he would kind of just sit there at the front of the class, like with his dog, and we kind of just run amok and and lift weights for a while. And my buddies and I would rip out pages of Muscle and Fitness magazines, like really do like kind of our research and figure out how to lift weights and how to program and all this kind of stuff for bodybuilding, basically, because that's all that was really around in the early 2000s. We figured out how to do all these movements, how to program them. So we ended up like showing our buddies or anyone else that would come into class. Like that's when I kind of credit like my first time to actually doing any kind of personal training. And knowing that, I probably should, and I was super obsessed with it all the way through high school, like worked out all the time. Had to do with like I got picked on a little bit, and I was a small kid, so that was kind of something I wanted to get rid of. Like, I didn't want to be bullied anymore. And once you put on like 20 pounds of muscle, people decide to find the other small kid to bully. So unfortunately for that kid, like I became not the small kid anymore, and someone else probably got bullied, unfortunately. But that's just how it works. And that was one of my motivations for lifting weights. Yeah, so like, it was funny when I went and saw like a guidance counselor or whatever they were. She asked me what I did like for work, and I like worked in a restaurant, like waiting tables. And she's like, "Oh yeah, we have this great like hospitality program." So I went and did that, not knowing that like exercise physiology or some kind of fitness would be something I do as a career. Because when I was going to gyms back then, I don't really remember seeing personal trainers walking around helping people. Like, was that like so much of a thing like in the early 2000s?
I mean, I went to the gym with my dad. I don't remember trainers being around much. No, it was just more like everyone doing their own thing. Definitely some bigger guys in the gym that maybe would point out and give pointers. The guys that are bodybuilding like pros, and they're all really nice, taking the creatines and doing the things. But like, no, I don't remember trainers being a thing. Not in my town.
That's what I had at my gym too. Like there was a couple of really big guys. They call me over and be like, "Hey man, once you get off that leg press, let me show you how to squat. Let me show you how to deadlift."
Spent 3 hours a day in the gym or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they were like what you would call probably quote unquote trainers, right?
Yeah.
So I really didn't think that was a career path you could take. So I went and did the restaurant thing. And then once I graduated, I went right back to going to the gyms all the time. And that's where I got approached by a guy. He was a fitness manager there. He came up to me and he was like, "Hey man, like, do you want to be a trainer?" And I was like, "I've never even thought about it." And I've been training people and working out forever. I knew my shit. I mean, that's obviously why he came up to me. And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Yeah, here, go get this certification and I'll hire you." Like, no big deal. So I went and got NASM. I think a lot of people, the National Academy of Sports Medicine is what it stands for. And I think a lot of people really kind of overvalue certifications, and they get a whole bunch of them, or they get a ton of education. But I think a lot of it really comes from just getting experience and getting out there and getting hands-on with people and just training a lot and walking the walk. So that's where I got my first job as a personal trainer, which was a lot of fun. I didn't get super busy at first because I don't think any personal trainer should get really busy at first because you're probably not that good at training other people. So I got a few clients here and there, and then you start like developing your skills. Then we moved to Washington, D.C., and I kind of combined my two skills. I'd been a restaurant manager, and I'd gotten my hand in personal training and things like that, so I became a fitness manager. So I got to run gyms, I got to manage other trainers, and that's actually when I hired some trainers that actually taught me a lot. I mean, I hired guys that were 20, 30 years older than me. They've been doing this for a long time, and I'd honestly just sit around and pick their brains. Like, we'd have downtime in the middle of the day, and I would just sit there and listen to all the stuff they would tell me. We had a whiteboard in our office, and they would write stuff up there, their training methodologies, and I would sit there and just go to school. So then I learned so much, got really busy doing that, ran a few gyms, had hundreds of clients, got on a wait list. I couldn't even train all the people that wanted to work with me. And then 2019, we moved to Austin. That's really when we started getting into golf.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, I mean, I don't, golf specific, I'm putting that in air quotes, like a lot of functional fitness movements are also golf specific movements.
Yes. So
we just add a few different things in there, and the way you program makes a golf specific program. So that's just a natural progression as a personal trainer. Just niche down and get a little more specific with what you're doing.
Yes.
And then, after doing that in Austin, I worked with some swing coaches. They brought me their clients. And then we moved back to Washington, D.C. from Austin, worked at a country club where I ended up with a ton of clients, some serious golfers. and then we moved down to Florida to work with some pros, or to be around people that were working with pros. Then, it all went remote.
Yes. Yeah, well, we wanted to scale, and we made a business decision to essentially like scale what we were both doing. Because after a while, one-on-one training and one-on-one and appointments and scheduling, it is hard work. So the people that have been doing it for decades, like that's badass.
Right.
But we also, wanted to go in on something that we could scale essentially. Mm-hmm. And, the online space brings that ability, which is kind of cool to be able to, scale a business without a lot of, no brick and mortars really attached, none of that kind of stuff, the insurance around that, the having the physical space to take care of. So we wanted to be able to reach as many people as possible, because there's really not a lot of good fitness programming, golf fitness programming out there, especially people that play golf, are good fitness trainers, and like incorporate lifestyle, nutrition, all that kind of other stuff too. Mm-hmm. So that sort of brought us to like where we're at. Yeah.
And by the magic of social media, just posting and trying to help people, improve their fitness, improve their golf fitness. When you realize that you can actually talk to hundreds and even thousands of people and help them, it's like, why not? Yeah. The one-on-one service is obviously something we still do on a small basis, but there's so much more you can offer when you have a platform that provides to thousands of people and you're just trying to help them.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, let's get into that a little bit though too, because I do think that I value being in person almost as a requirement before doing anything 100%. Online. And that's what I think is kind of in this world of followers and online content. It's really hard to make content, and it's really hard to get into people's shoes and be able to relate to them when you really haven't done the things. Mm-hmm. And for people that, are out there trying to jump, a few steps ahead. I get it, because that's like the world that we live in, where you see all these online coaches. For one, you don't know what these online coaches are really like. You might think, oh, they're doing better than me, or they have a lot of, let all of that go. Unfollow those people. Focus on your business, because you don't have to have a lot of followers. And I think we can both attest to that too. Like, we didn't have a big following at all, like when we were doing any type of training. Now, it was like before social media or whatever, but you don't, that's not a requirement to be a good trainer. In fact, you should be getting in front of bodies, saying yes to a lot of different types of clients, especially if you're new. You kind of just say yes to every avatar, unless they're very much out of scope, specific types of injuries and things like that, of course. Right. But at the very beginning, the majority of us can help the majority of people that just need help with learning how to get more steps in their day, learning how to navigate the gym, showing them around the gym, telling them to drink more water. Like, really, we just keeping people accountable and doing the basics and getting in front of as many bodies as possible. Right. And that's right up with the whole, like, getting a cert thing. It's not, yes, some gyms might require it. I get that. That's just like everything else. Like our education system, people require degrees. I think we're slowly starting to get away from that. But you definitely get some of those people that, they studied, maybe you wish you studied kines, but it's like, how many people that studied kines are the best, do you know, that are necessarily the best trainers ever?
I've got examples of they weren't.
You hire those people and they've never coached a person in their life.
Yeah.
Or they themselves, which I'm going to say this now too, like, I'm sorry, but I am a trainer that thinks that you should be an example to your clients. Mm-hmm. Do I think that you need to have a 6% body fat and be shredded year round and like all that nonsense? No, because that doesn't prove that, you know how to coach people. Right. But it's like, okay, I want my hairdresser to have like good hair. I want, like whatever. Like I want my surgeon to have done a lot of other surgeries that he knows what he's doing. Right. Like 100%. I want my trainer to also like walk the walk a little bit. Yeah. And again, that's not being perfect. It's just like the reality is it's like there are a lot of coaches out there where it's like, what the whole why should I believe you thing? Right. I think that's paramount. I think that is number one, especially now, because again, you can pretend you're anything on the internet now. Mm-hmm. Everybody is coaching coaches and selling coaches and business coaches. And it's like, we can't navigate like what's right, what's real from not real. But let me tell you, the people that are really good trainers, you will get clients and those clients will tell other clients, and it doesn't have to do with your certs and how many degrees you have and all the other things. Like if you're a good person, if you're a good personal trainer, people will come to you. And I felt that when I was growing my business doing one-on-one nutrition coaching. For me, I'm not going to say getting clients is easy, but when I reached out to like some of my old people that I used to put myself in front of all the time doing group X, that like always used to ask me for advice and feedback and all the things for years, it wasn't that hard to get my first 6 to 10 clients like that.
Right.
People were ready because I already had like that. It wasn't like these were people that I essentially were 1 or 2 degrees separated from. And so that's where walking the walk is really helpful too, because people are already, they know you. People came out of the woodwork. I was shocked. I didn't expect that. But it was like, whoa, I coached you 3 years ago or whatever. We haven't touched base in forever, but it's like, cool. And that continues to happen. I still coach some people to this day that I met years ago.
Right.
Because they're like bought in.
Right. I mean, that word of mouth has been the way I've grown a personal training business in multiple cities now at this point. I mean, in the same city twice in different eras. But I mean, that's truly what it is. You do a good job for these people, they will tell their friends. Or their friends just ask, like, oh my God, you look great. Or, hey, you know, for a golfer, it's like, hey, you're hitting the ball further. Like, what are you doing? And they'll happily tell their friends about you. So that's what's worked best for me. Way before social media.
Totally.
I mean, even after social media now, like, you know, now it's still word of mouth. Like is the best.
It's the best.
And you get word of mouth by doing a good job.
And how many of our clients, this has happened kind of recently for whatever reason, but I've brought on like 4 clients recently that I've already coached. Like I've had clients come back to me this year. Like, and I'm not really doing any outreach right now or whatever, but it's cool when clients that you've worked with kind of come back and they're like, hey, I want to get some things back on track. Like I want to work. Like that's, if you're a good coach and they had a good experience with you, they also could be your very best client for a long time.
For a long time.
And they don't have to be, my goal of course isn't for people to be with me forever.
Right.
But also when they're needing to phase in and phase out and different seasons of life, it's kind of cool when they come back to you because you got them good results.
Right. And you know what these people don't care about? How many cool certifications you have.
Or what your social media following is, or how many likes are on your post. They literally don't.
Yeah.
They don't. And it's crazy. We were just talking about this and I'll say this because you know you have an awesome social media. But yesterday you posted something that got like 16 likes or whatever, right? And you have like 50 some or however many thousands of followers. 16 likes on one post is kind of like ridiculous.
Yeah, it kind of is.
And Instagram algorithm aside, it has nothing to do with it being a good piece of content. It has, you know, but what you said this morning when we were chatting about that and where we're at with our social media like strategy is that I don't care if those 16 people were the only ones that read it. And my goal was if it landed with a handful of those people and they got something out of it, that's a win.
Right.
And it's so true. Like people that have lots and lots of followers, it doesn't mean that the people are buying from them. And the same can be said. Somebody with 500 followers might have 500 very engaged followers that are like their clients that they work with, and they communicate their stuff via their social channels to their 500 people.
Yeah.
And they're crushing it. Because again, like we scaled businesses with it wasn't hundreds of clients at a time that I had. It was like 30 to 40 clients at a time. It wasn't a ton. And so I think, like, again, if we're so focused on likes and growing our following and social media, and we're not focusing on the 1 or 2 or 3 clients that we have and just pouring our heart and soul into them, then we've got it like completely lopsided. And so again, like that's the thing where if you're new and you've got 1 client, that person is it. You're doing a lot for them. They're your bread and butter because they're your only client that's paying you. So you should totally like over service the shit out of them. And then maybe they hire you for more. Maybe they do want to start asking you about nutrition coaching if that's like in your wheelhouse or like whatever.
Right.
And then they do refer you because you've built up a rapport with them or whatever. But again, like focusing on your core group of people, the people that are already spending money with you and bought in, that should be your main focus because they're going to be the ones that are like your biggest champion.
Right. I mean, I'll have trainers reach out to me on social media. And unfortunately, I think they're trying to ask like how to grow your social media. And I try to tell them followers are not dollars.
Right.
Like you don't just think that you're just trying to build this crazy follower account. Like that's going to be your end goal. Cause like, it's not, I'll tell you that straight up. Like, yeah, I think we have 57,000 followers right now on social media. I would trade a lot of those in for very, very engaged people.
Yes.
If you're a follower of mine, I appreciate you. Thank you for following me. But like engagement's what you want. Like, how can I help these people? Like, so yeah, the post yesterday was with a lengthy, like, it was just a picture and had a lot of, bullet points about what is a good quality off-season program. It was trying to be, it's educational, right? And yeah, not very many people liked it. I don't know if more read it. Doesn't really matter. If a few people got something out of it, that's all I want. Today, same thing. I'm trying to educate people why to do a certain thing in an off-season program. If it doesn't go viral, I really don't care. Like, I want people to consume it and learn something from it.
Yes.
And that should be your goal as a personal trainer that's on social media.
Yes. Yes. And I think, something that goes along with that, and I think what makes a successful personal trainer is being able to say, I don't know, or I'll find out.
Exactly.
So this is something that I think people struggle with. And it's hard in the beginning because you want to like know all the things, but also in the beginning, you know nothing.
Oh yeah,
I still know nothing.
I mean, my very first day as a personal trainer, I knew
nothing. I mean, the workouts that I gave people, like LOL, I was a Bozu ball queen, like the whole thing.
Yeah, I knew I did like bodybuilding workouts to try to get as jacked as possible. So my first client when she showed up was a 28-year-old girl wanting to lose weight. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
Right.
Because that's not what I do.
Right. And look at the trainers that are in the gym we train now doing the same thing for those people. And they're older trainers.
Yeah. It's wild.
I had to bring that up because you literally said that. And I'm like, gosh, there's still people out there. But it's like, I didn't know what I was doing. You really don't. The certs don't teach you application in real life. They just don't. No study really teaches you how to work with a human being. But being able to like be that resource for people is again like a huge part of it. That's the thing I think that isn't talked about a lot in like the training business. It's like we can textbook the things and study the things all day long, but like learning how to work with people's like psychology and like their energy and their mood that day, like that's really what you're doing like 90% of the time. Like you're kind of like managing
it's so much.
It's just so much of like the psyche part, right? And
like you could have like the perfect workout written, and then all of a sudden they're in a bad mood and they don't want to do that exercise anymore, or they truly they'll like sabotage it.
Yes, take extra long, or go to the restroom, or just whatever fiddle fucking, or a really deep conversation just starts, and you can't just be like, okay, next, like you can't just like
your mom's dying. Sorry, like
pick
up that dumbbell.
So it's like. It's that. And then also but some of those things, I mean, a lot of those things are important to talk with people about because that is what's getting them or not getting them results. It's like what is going on outside of the gym, like how stressed their work life is and how they're sleeping, like all of that stuff that they're talking with you about is important to like the whole picture.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, like push pull and balanced workouts and upper lower splits and like whatever. Most clients don't give a shit about that. Like you get all ready and like, you have I remember in the beginning, I'd have to like really pre-plan workouts and write them down and things like that. Cause that's just what you do when you're new. That's what I did. But then you like, eventually you throw caution completely to the wind in that realm because you learn that that's not very helpful when, a client comes in that day and they've got, they're sore, they're in pain. Yeah. They have something else totally going on and you have to completely pivot your plan that you spent an hour or two like prepping for or whatever.
Or me at the big box gyms, especially being a newer trainer, you're low on the totem pole. So let's say we have 2 squat racks at Gold's Gym back in the day. I had squats number 1 on my list, right? I go up over there, the old trainers are using it, or there's giant bodybuilders like surrounding the thing.
Yes,
and I'm like,
true.
Oh shit. Right. Now what do I do?
Right.
Like I don't have a plan B.
Totally.
Like I don't have the experience to just think on the fly and do something different. And like, that is what it is. And until you've done it, you don't realize, hey, I need to have a backup for this. And if this happens, like all these different scenarios, and that just comes with being exposed to it.
It does. And so just kind of that will, and that's, I think, where you kind of brought up why people don't last for very long is because it's like the beginning is hard. Like you're navigating, and I was like also like in corporate and also like trying to build my own client base too, because I knew that like I knew I needed a job. I was like living by myself in DC. It's very expensive. So like, but you know, the big box gym though, I want to kind of touch on that because I actually do think, and you can maybe touch more on this too. I think it's a good route to go. I think that
100%.
a lot of the gyms now give a good amount of education too. There's training, there's other trainers to learn from, which again, you don't always get if you're solo, but like maybe even like in a small mom and pop gym, you don't even necessarily have that. Whereas now I think there's a few brands out there that do a pretty good job of, I mean, I've seen precision nutrition as a part of people's education, and like just there's a lot more where you can get them to spend the money on the education piece. So yeah, you're not making a lot of money. Like it comes down to being pretty low per hour, like your cut. If they're making $150 and you're getting 10% of that or whatever it ends up being on your paycheck. But you've got lead generation coming in for you, of course, which is huge. You got bodies that are walking around the gym all day that you can expose yourself to and introduce yourself to. And then there's like the whole education, you know, piece, continuing education, and, you know, being able to like learn kind of whatever you want and get that paid for. I think there's a lot of benefit to that.
Yeah. I mean, and if you get under a good leadership, like if you get a good manager, I didn't until later on in my career. It took me like a few different jobs. So I got in under a good leader. His name was Evan, and he really taught me a lot about the business and about training and just how to get people results and like how to show them that you're getting them results, because that's a big part of keeping that client, right? Like there's a salesman, there's a marketing element to being a personal trainer, but if you can just keep someone, you don't have to like always be selling, right? Like if you can just do a good job and get your client results, they'll stay with you, and that's just as good as getting a new client. Like if that client leaves and you have to get a new one, you'd rather just have that same one for a long time. So I think that is one of the big things about when you get into a big box gym like a Gold's, or I was at Washington Sports Club, which is now New York Sports Clubs, is just having a leader like teach you stuff. And then I tried to be that leader. Some trainers like didn't buy in. They didn't really, want to like be managed or be taught, because like personal training is like kind of like running your own business inside of another gym, right? Like you're training people on their floor, they're paying you a commission, but you don't usually have to go by a schedule. You can kind of come and go as you please. If you hit like a minimum, then that's really all you're required to do. So if you're not trying to go above and beyond and learn more, then, you know, as the fitness manager, I can only encourage people to do so much. But then the ones that would like come into my office and like want to sit down, want to talk, want to go out on the floor with me, I would teach them everything I possibly could. And I think if you can get under the right manager and take advantage of that, that'll help you forever in this game.
Yes, that's so true. That's true for any job, by the way. But like,
yeah, true. Very true.
It is important. If you're really serious about it, I think getting mentorship of any kind is killer. So yeah, again, and it can be a little bit of trial and error. And I think it is worth looking for a place where you do vibe with the person that you're reporting to, or at least some of the senior trainers or something, where you're at least seeing the people that are training in the style that you want to train in, or working with the clients that you want to train. Yep.
And I even learned some from my my colleagues, right? Like I said this at the beginning of the show, like I hired people that were older than me that were better trainers than me, and they taught me a lot. They wanted to teach me too, and I wanted to learn from them. And we traded ideas, and we kind of picked apart each other's training. Like, hey, I like that. I like what you're doing. I'm going to try that. I'm going to like kind of make that my own too. And then vice versa. Like, weren't like, hey, no, this is mine and mine only. We were in the community to share and like kind of grow together, because if you're part of a team, you realize that, and especially in a gym, if you can get a few people to all kind of like work towards the same goal, like more people being successful, like what does they call it? Like a rising tide raises all boats or something like that.
Raises all ships. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, that's like what you want. Cause like if you're in a gym and you're trying to compete, cause there were people like the trainers that were there when I first got there, they weren't like happy to see new trainers, right? Cause they don't want like, oh, that could be my potential client, right? Like I want to be the only fish in this pond, like, catching, clients. Right. But then when you see more people being successful, this becomes a gym. This becomes a place where there's a lot of training happening. People are getting results. More people come, and like that's how we all come up together. So like
totally,
like the same thing. Like I look at other trainers in my space right now, like on Instagram, that are doing good things, and like I'm not I'm not like pissed off like, oh man, that guy's coming up and like he might like catch me or something like that. Like I'm like, cool. More people are listening to golf fitness now. More people are seeing the benefits of this. Like I can't service all the, like there's millions of people that need this service. Like I can't service all these people. But so like all these people coming up, doing a good job, showing the value of what we provide is beneficial for all of us.
No, it really is. And I feel like I've been lucky in the nutrition space too. And I worked with another brand for a long time that does a lot of fitness programming. But the community that program created we had dozens of nutrition coaches in that community. And I never felt like it was like, these people are stealing from me. We never treated each other like that. In fact, it was like, I'm full. Who wants this person? Or I think this person would work really well with this person. And it totally paid off, I think. Like, you can't really put an ROI on it. Like, I can't sit here and pinpoint, but it never felt like people were stealing ever from anybody. In fact, it was just more like we felt supported by one another. We DM'd each other and texted each other all the time about like, hey, like I'm navigating this issue with this client. So it was like, we totally had that situation of, the whole tide rising and raising the ships. And it also was really helpful too when you have like-minded people that coach in the way that you coach, because there's also so much bullshit out there, which is continuing to grow, unfortunately, in the fitness and health industry. So yeah, when you see people that are doing good stuff out there, we should all be like pumped, because it's like, thank God, like what a breath of fresh air. Like I'm always like reposting other people's shit. If it's good, I'm like, cool, that's good shit. Like that needs to get shared. Like people need to hear this person, what they have to say. Because there is also a lot of noise and bullshit.
100%.
So I just, I've always been on the team of like drown out the noise. Like it seems it's so hard and exhausting sometimes, but at the end of the day, we just like want to get the right message out there. And I think, if you're not feeling that way, if you are truly just kind of deep down, not really caring about helping people and getting the right message out there and like countering the narrative that is out there with a lot of the way training and health is, then it might not be the job for you.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, and it's like, this isn't the most lucrative business you can find. If you are just trying to make money, there's other ways you can make money. Probably more money.
Yes.
Definitely more money if you're willing to work. Like I don't know what these businesses are, but this is the business I choose, and I don't do it strictly for money, or else if I was in it just for money, you would find something else for me to do. Because you know how to make money, so like you could tell me what to go do.
Yeah, no, I think that also though, to kind of remember too, what's important and what we choose in general is just kind of what's going to keep you in it.
Right.
So again, if you're just slaving away and expecting to have quick results and get a bunch of followers and just make all this money and not really caring about helping people, like you're going to just burn out regardless. So you might as well just like pick a different path.
Right.
Pick something else, because it's working with human beings.
It's a lot of work. And, it's like the thing that always pissed me off the most. So like I used to manage gyms. So like this is where I heard it, because like I would get complaints from people's clients. Like, oh, he's canceled on me 3 times this week. I'm like, wait, your trainer canceled on you?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, this happens like quite a bit. I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, not unacceptable. Like that is, if you're paying someone, if you're truly trying to get help with your fitness goals and and you're showing up because you're the client, like it's supposed to be harder for you to show up. There's no excuse for your trainer not to show up. So if you are listening and your trainer doesn't show up, get a new trainer immediately.
Yeah, that's not normal.
Like that is not acceptable.
I agree.
At all. Like, and we've talked about this in other like appointment services businesses and stuff, but
the service industry, it's wild.
And I don't want to compare it to like getting your hair and nails done or stuff like that, because I think that's something people are going to do anyways. Whereas like fitness may be something they don't do, and they've already taken away their barriers somehow, some way they've taken them away, and they're willing to get into the gym and work on themselves. But you don't show up for them, and you're their trainer, and they paid you. You should at least be paying them back for that session.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you should dock your own pay for that.
100%.
That's just bullshit. That is something I did not tolerate as a manager, and that's something I would never do to my clients. Like I cannot think of a time where I did not show up for a client unless there was some emergency, which I can't even remember that ever happening. And I never missed doing a 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning group fitness class when I taught those.
I was going to say, do you remember having nightmares about, like, I remember I didn't teach a lot of earlies because we left those classes for the people that had full-time jobs when I was in the group X space. So I had a lot of the 9:30, 12:30 middle of the day type classes.
Yeah.
But when I subbed, I got so nervous for those classes because I was like, you know, you just have the nightmares.
3 alarms on.
Yeah, I mean, when we were in Austin doing like Equinox and like we were just opening up that gym and we had some early sessions, it was like, oh my God, please do not miss this alarm. You know, there's 10 bodies or 20 bodies waiting for me. Like that's the worst.
No way.
Feeling, but you
or
also
even showing up late, like that's unacceptable.
We worked with. Remember how many trainers we worked with that didn't show up to their classes? You remember hearing that through the grapevine, and it like that gave me heart attacks. I didn't even know those people, and I was like, oh, she didn't come to her class.
Yeah, like what the fuck? And that would happen. That would happen at like I think that happened at Equinox quite a few times. Like, can anyone teach yoga in 5 minutes? I'm like, I don't know how to teach yoga. Like,
it was so and it was like, oh my God, like I mean, again, like these people, things happen, right? But you find out pretty quickly when it's happening.
It happens a lot
regularly.
To the same person.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always the same people. And it's like, all right. And then there comes the point where you're like, all right, a conversation, if you're managing them or whatever, a conversation needs to be had. But
or even just rolling out of bed, like with your coffee and all like, here, go roll on that. And then I saw this girl
like eating or whatever
I
in the middle.
I saw a trainer recently that's like, oh yeah, grab that, pull it down. Like teaching someone how to do a pull down. Like, oh, like this. And like wasn't doing very well. She's drinking her coffee. She's like, yeah, like that. I'm like, no, unacceptable too.
Oof.
Like you got to show up for these people, and because I think you underestimate how much you're actually going to help them. And once a client like kind of becomes your friend, they'll tell you like how much you are helping them. Like on the first few times, like or first few weeks, maybe months, like they won't tell you, but after a while, they'll tell you how important this is to them, like how much it's helped their mental health and all this kind of stuff. I think you touched on this a minute ago. Our clients down in Austin, Brett and Caroline. I mean, Caroline bought her husband training.
Yes.
And he used to come after work, and he would vent to me, like the first few minutes, like while we're warming up or something like that. He would usually just vent about his day at work, and then we'd get into the workout, and then he'd leave with a smile, or as close to it as we could get, depending on how bad his day was. But and then Caroline would text him. She's like, "Oh my God, he comes home. He's he's in a much better mood." She's like, "Honestly, I would just keep paying just for this. I don't even care if he gets in shape." You know?
Does his Pilates?
Yeah,
we're just joking. We're joking with him.
Yeah, she did that.
His mobility workouts.
Yeah, but I mean, so just think about that. Like, I mean, I don't want to sit there and, but you know, think of how much help that is, like for his health, for his wellness, for like the relationship part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that she doesn't have to deal, like, and I don't mind. Like, you can come bitch to me, like I don't. You know, tell me about how bad your day is. Like, then we'll do some squats and you'll feel better, and then you'll move on and we'll fist bump at the end of it and you'll have a better evening.
Yeah. You know? Well, it just shows like, again, back to like, it's really not a lot about the workout. Like it doesn't end up to be a lot about the workout. Like you get people results and your programming matters, but like the client isn't seeing it like that. They really, like most people aren't.
They look at it holistically. Like, am I getting in better shape? Am I feeling better?
Yeah.
Is my quality of life improving?
Yeah.
Is my spouse's quality of life improving?
Like they're not usually like breaking, oh, is my squat form awesome? Like, you know, they don't care.
And they don't want to get hurt. They want to get stronger. And that's what you're there for.
That's it.
You know,
that's literally it. I think we touched a lot.
We did.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Should we I think we're good. I mean, and then group fitness, I think what's interesting is I think you need a little bit of both. Like, can you go into group fitness first? Of course you can. But I think you need to learn how to I called it like triage. Because like when you're teaching a group fitness class and there's going to be 20, 40 people in your class. I think one time I had a class like with 50 or 60, like my Tuesday boot camp at Equinox, blew up. I think I had 10 rows of 6 people in each row. I think I had like 50 or 60, and people would be training outside the class too. Like I had this class that got so popular. It was awesome. It made me feel really good and special. But so like you need to learn like who needs your help the most and how quick can you triage that person? How quick can you get them doing something better? Not perfect. And I think a lot of that comes from personal training. So I think there's, you need to learn how to do both.
Yeah. I might have said that like a different answer a while ago about which one should be first. And I don't know if I have a right answer for that. I think too, Group X over the years, people are kind of hiring whoever, like the best cheerleader and the most happy person, and then they end up being a terrible, like they don't know the body. The fittest person in class is now the coach. Yeah, or that, or some version of that too. Just like whoever, just put that body in front of the room, and like that's not smart either. So it's not necessarily that they have to be a trainer first before going into Group X, but there should you know, it's tough, and I get it. I get the business side of things for businesses that, you know, need to spend time training these people, but it needs to be done for the sake of like the integrity of the class and the bodies in the room.
Right.
Like it does. So yeah, I think it helps a shit ton if you're actually a trainer and you end up being a pretty good Group X coach.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn like different soft skills, and like being in front of a room is way different than one-on-one. That's a lot of like soft skills training for sure. You know, being able to multitask too, like just room management can be just, that part's really hard.
So much. You got to turn on the
It's
music. You got to talk on a microphone.
Totally.
You got to change screens.
Totally. So you might have someone that's genuinely really good at that, and then they're not as good. So, you know, it's, I don't think, but you know, your approach of maybe doing a little bit of both, like for sure. Cause I personally learned a lot from getting in front of a group and just seeing more. It just gets you in front of more bodies essentially. Right.
And the soft skills, like, I mean, that's what I really needed. I mean, you could tell even in this podcast, sometimes I get scatterbrained but it just like, it's a confidence booster. It gets you way out of your comfort zone. Like if you don't like being in front of people, get in front of people on a mic, doing movements, yelling at people, motivating them. Like, you know, I haven't done a speech in a long time since like college, but I'm pretty sure I could do it now after standing in front of all these people on a microphone, showing them how to do a squat and like a push up and screaming like, let's go. And all these like motivational things you used to say.
Totally. No, totally. So yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, but hopefully this was pretty helpful.
Yeah.
I hope.
I hope so too. I mean, and I think, you know, for people on social media, like it's hard to tell like who a good trainer is, and please don't base it off of followers. Like don't do my programs because of how many followers I have. Do it because of the quality of the program and the results that it gets you. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. There's a lot of programs and options and trainers out there. And I think like if you do your research, you don't have to research that hard to find like the good ones that want to help. So CodyWescottGolf.com/links to find our programs. You can get our free downloads. We've got free trials. Both of those options are available for people. We want people to be able to access our stuff so that they can find out what works best for them. Of course, you know, follow us, subscribe to us, like us, share us. That's always very helpful too. If you like our stuff, share it with somebody. Maybe it's a hint share, or maybe someone's asking for something helpful.
Hint share. And check out our YouTube if you haven't, Cody Wescott Golf. It's tons of little longer format content as opposed to like a short Instagram post. We're trying to dive in more and do some follow along, some like how-tos that'll really take a deeper dive into how to do some of the stuff that you see in just short clips. So you know how you're doing it right.
Perfect. And Squat slept the entire time.
That was good.
Yes.
And he didn't eat your cookie.
He didn't, and I didn't want to snatch it because I think it would wake him up. But we'll try that out when we sign off. So with that,
have a great day,
we're
everybody.
Signing off.
Thanks.